Joining me now is Mark Shriver. He is one of the co-chairs of Catholics for Biden. And Sister Simone Campbell, the executive director of Network Lobby for Catholic Social Justice. It's great to see you. Oh, Sister Simone, it's been a while since we've been out there on the bus. It's good to see you again.
It has, but we're on a virtual bus right now, so it's good to be here.
A virtual bus. Well, and Mark, you recently wrote for the Catholic Reporter about Joe Biden, that Mr. Biden and Mr. Trump have vastly different political bases, but both are battling over more conservative religious Latinos in places like Florida and Arizona. They're also targeting a segment of persuadable white Catholics in the industrial Midwest, in particular blue-collar union households in places like Wisconsin and Michigan. Mark, how important do you think the Catholic vote is turning out to be? And that was from the New York Times, by the way. That was not your personal reminiscences. I wanted to clarify that, too.
Yes, thank you, Andrea. I'm sorry I interrupted you there. I think the Catholic vote obviously is a big block. And I think what the article that I wrote of the National Catholic Reporter is about the concept of Joe Biden's humility, his decency, his empathy. And you see these stories. We saw with the young kid who stuttered at the convention. And the article I wrote also talked about his efforts with a kid that had developmental disabilities. This guy really cares about people. And I hear it on our bus tour all across the country. I'm doing with Jennifer Gardner, where we're talking to childcare workers, overwhelmingly women, and they have not been heard in the past. And Joe has a great platform on reaching out and including them, making sure that there's investments in childcare centers all across this country. And that's really what's important, is how do we get this country back on its feet economically, and led by a guy who has humility and decency and empathy. And I think that'll resonate with Catholic voters all across the country.
Well, getting back to the article that you wrote for the Catholic Reporter, which drew my attention, because you wrote about the Special Olympics when Joe Biden still managed to show up for those Special Olympians out there, even though he had a delayed schedule and he had a lot to do. And he showed up for them. We even have a picture of that. He showed up at your parents' funerals, almost unannounced, despite his busy schedule as vice president. When Sarge Shriver died, you know, he was there at the church. And there's so many instances where he gave the eulogy, showed up for your mom. So he doesn't make a big deal out of it. He's just there for people.
You don't see that often, Andrea, right? In politicians, they want to be front and center. They want to talk. When my mom died, he slipped in a side door, didn't ask to speak, didn't ask to talk to the press. And you see that consistently through his life. And it's not just with, members of the Shrivers and the Kennedys, right? He's doing this with everyday people that he's interacted with. And I mentioned listening to the young man who had a stuttering problem like he did as a youth. Talking to Special Olympics athletes. We sat on the tarmac for 3 or 4 hours. We flew all the way to Idaho because he made a commitment and he stuck to the commitment. And Special Olympic athletes from all around the globe were so thrilled that the Vice President of the United States spent the whole day flying across country, spent a couple hours with him and flew back. This is a guy who gives a commitment, sticks to his commitment, sticks to his word, has humility. And I think those attributes will resonate not just with Catholic voters, but people of all faiths. Jews talk about Tikkun Olam, Muslims talk about Ishla. These are all tenets of the great religions to repair the world, to help common good. And that's what Joe Biden has stood for throughout his career. And as a friend, I know that he will do that as president of the United States. He'll pull us all together, whether you're a Republican, a Democrat, or an independent. And that's what I think is really important for this country at this point in time.
Well, Sister Simone, the Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, is in Rome today. He was at the Vatican. He was pretty much snubbed by the Pope after he went against the Pope's position on China because he's so vigorous against China because of COVID, and also met with prelates at the Vatican who were against Pope Francis. So he really got political, had a number of meetings today, meeting with others, of course, Ambassador Callista Gingrich, who is the U.S. ambassador there. There just seems to be a real attempt to politicize this, and Pope Francis wasn't having any of it.
Well, that's certainly true. Pope Francis followed his regular practice of not meeting with dignitaries in advance of an election in a particular nation. But I think what's most disturbing to me is that Secretary Pompeo wants to create the Vatican as an extension of U.S. policy and has no knowledge, no awareness of the work of the Vatican to care for those who are Catholics within the Chinese context. And if I could just add that one of my sisters, a member of my religious community, our Chinese sisters, she stayed behind after the revolution and ministered to her people and ended up imprisoned in the Mao regime and dying in prison. Now, what Pope Francis has done with his negotiations with the Chinese government is to allow Catholics to flourish in China. Yes, there's been give and take in this relationship, but in a sense, he's doing what my sister, the sister in my community, gave her life for, is caring for Chinese Catholics. And Secretary Pompeo's very naive idea about what religious liberty is really, I think, a violation of the actual care for Chinese Catholics. And it has me gravely concerned that for political stunts, for electoral stunts, that this administration would promote something as this.
Sister Simone, it's so good to see you. We hope you'll come back soon. And Mark Shriver, that's all we have time for today, but thank you both so very much. And before we go...
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.